A man has died in a house fire in Lancashire. Fire crews were called to Blackburn Road in Darwin last night, where they managed to rescue a 53-year-old woman. She was taken to hospital suffering from smoke inhalation, but a 38-year-old man was found dead at the scene. The cause of the blaze isn't yet known. Well, that story comes as firefighters across the country prepare to go on strike in their dispute over pay. In just over 28 hours, people fear there will not be adequate fire cover for the North West. Our social affairs correspondent Dave Guest is at Wythenshawe Fire Station, which is where we go now.
Yes, Gordon, this is one of 67 fire appliances that are normally available for duty on any given day of the week here in Greater Manchester. As of 6 p.m. tomorrow, there'll be just 36 Green Goddesses. So the cover here is not going to be terribly good. Now, Wythenshawe is one of the busiest fire stations in Greater Manchester. They turned out something like 2,500 incidents last year. Within the past hour, the talks trying to avert tomorrow's strike broke down. So what do the members of Blue Watch think? What's your reaction to the fact it looks like you're now going to go on strike?
Well, Dave, it's with deep regret we've reached this situation. But with the mandate of 9 to 1 for strike action, we think we've got no option. Unfortunately, the employers have left us in this predicament.
OK, but supposing tomorrow you're on the picket line here, there's a fire up the road, there's a house fire, there are kids trapped. I mean, are you going to be able to stay on a picket line?
Well, the equipment out there doesn't belong to us, and unfortunately we're not insured. I mean, the government know this, but basically we'll then be a member of the public and we'll do our best, as any other member of the public would do, to help these people out.
So what you're saying is if there was an emergency call here, you couldn't actually respond to it even if you wanted to?
We don't have the... control won't be in, there'll be nothing in place to mobilise us, so unless somebody comes knocking at the door, we can't do anything. OK, thanks very much indeed. So the mood here is certainly not a happy one, but it seems to be resigned to the fact that the strike is going to go ahead tomorrow, Gordon.
Well, Dave, I mean, that is the situation there in Greater Manchester. What is it like across the rest of the region?
It's very similar. The Green Goddesses are simply not going to cover what the fire appliances do. And let's remember, they're very old vehicles. They don't have the high-tech equipment that these do. And also, let's not just think about house fires. Lancashire Fire Service today, for instance, was telling me the majority of their calls are dealing with road traffic accidents. Specialist equipment needed. It simply isn't going to be there as of 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Dave, thank you very much.
Well, he's sort of right. Emergency cover will be provided by these, the Army's legendary Green Goddesses. They've been brought out of mothballs once again. But they'll be providing a very thin line of protection for lives and property. Across the region, there won't be anything like as many of them as there are fire engines. Take Cheshire, for instance. There'll be just 14 covering a county that normally has 40 appliances. And of course, modern fire engines are bristling with state-of-the-art equipment, yet the Green Goddesses don't even have basic breathing apparatus. That'll be carried on one of these. It's called a BART, and Cheshire will have just 6 of them. Greater Manchester is one of the busiest brigades in the country. It'll have just 36 Green Goddesses compared to 67 fire appliances. Appliances like this one turning out from Wythenshawe. I spent bonfire night with them and witnessed how busy they are. This afternoon, no one here was desperate to go on strike, but accepted it now seemed inevitable.
It's very regrettable, to be quite honest, because there's not a person in the brigade that actually wants to go on strike, but we think that the situation with the employers, we've got no option.
But supposing you were on the picket line and there's a fire up the road and there's some kids trapped in a house, can you really stay on that picket line?
No, I don't think most firemen would, but because we're on strike, I won't be insured to drive this, and none of the firemen will be insured to use any of the fire equipment that we carry. So we'll just have to do what most members of the public would do and do our best to go and help.
And while it's easy to imagine firefighters spend all of their time fighting fires, other jobs take up huge amounts of time too. Take road accidents, for instance. In Lancashire, they reckon dealing with accidents is their main task. One member of the fire service told me today they outnumbered house fires by 10 to 1. So what will happen if the worst happens during the strike? Well, that's something few are keen to contemplate.
Coming up shortly.
The strike is on as the firefighters insist on a massive pay rise. Across the country this evening, thousands are now joining the picket lines. Also,
And in the northwest, the Green Goddesses are ready. The firefighters are out from the picket line to the emergency control rooms. We have the latest and
Tonight's main news again. Firefighters have gone on strike for the first time in 25 years. And this was the moment at Lambeth in South London when scores of firefighters began to man the picket line there. There have been similar scenes across the country in the past half hour. They'll be out until Friday evening.